Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here with another top 10 EDH Commander card countdown. So today we're going to go through the top 10 Bant cards. Yes, we are entering the Shards, Wedges, land of 3-color. And we're going to go through the top 10 3-color green, white, blue cards, in my opinion, of course, for EDH Commander. Realize that these lists, by definition, even though the criteria we're using are the same for the most part as the other lists we've done, it's harder to apply them as clearly because the 3 colors by definition are less flexible. Also, keep in mind that there are quite a few legendaries and commanders in these colors, which makes it very hard to balance and sort which one is better than another one. And so these are just, from my perspective entirely, the list can be different depending on the person, in terms of the commanders at least. So let's go into the honorable mentions as we always do, starting off with Janara, Azura of War. I like her. She's 3 for a 3/3, which is value, and her ability lets her have a consistent long-term mana feed, mana dump, especially in this 3-color of Bant. You often get a lot of things like Mirari's Wake that allow you to do huge ramp options, and you need something to dump it into. However, there's nothing really otherwise interesting about her. She's just a 3/3 flying that has a pump ability. Nothing really interesting about her, so she's too narrow for me. Guildspire Avenger is a 2/2 for 3. I like that he works with other creatures. He has the Exalted, helps your Voltron, and can blow up stuff. I don't like that you have to take damage for him to be useful, though. Flurry of Wings is way too narrow a card. It requires you to be attacking. Its value comes from how many creatures are attacking, which means it's limited to very narrow archetypes that have quite a few creatures to be worth value. It's not enough for me. It's too niche. Angus Mackenzie is an interesting commander, but I don't tend to like fog stacks effects. I try to avoid them for the most part, and he is pretty much just a fog on a creature, making games slower, and for me that's not so interesting. And Arcade Sabbath as well suffers the same problem in that he's not that interesting. There's nothing special about him, and his ability is just so bleh. Such a defensive commander. Stoic Angel as well fits the stacks mechanic somewhat by preventing creatures from untapping, but that being said, it's a good body flyer, definitely an honorable mention. And the last honorable mention we're mentioning is Clarion Ultimatum. With gorgeous art, this card is pretty terrible for EDH Commander. Yes, you can get 5 permanents, so you can get basic lands, but that's the only reason you would really want to use it. It seems pretty bleh. It's anti the commander function of having one single of each card in the deck, and so it's on the honorable mentions list as being interesting but pretty awful overall. Getting to the top 10 list, we'll start with Finest Hour. This card I've had in my Rafiq deck when I had him as a Voltron. It works well with any Voltron, although Rafiq is particularly scary. The fact that it is narrow to Voltron and that's where it shines makes it the low end of the list. It's even more narrow for these colors than you'd expect. Number 9 is Rubinia Soulsinger, so a relatively new commander. She's interesting because I think she's better as a non-commander myself, but her ability is nothing to be laughed at. She's Merrick Rebreet. I don't know if that's correct pronunciation, but she's quite similar, just a lot more expensive. For me, she's fairly narrow. Then we have number 8, Feldegriff, one of my favorite commanders in terms of flair and style. This is the ultimate group hug, and unlike Rubinia, is immediately useful. You can use the abilities right away, and as a body it's fine for Voltron, and it's also a great group hug commander. Everything about it is a lot of fun. Number 7, we have Rune the Hidden of the Hidden Realm. This guy is also one of the newer commanders, and he's pretty awesome. He really is. He allows Flicker decks, which are quite popular. I have my own Flicker deck, but he allows them to really go bananas, being able to flicker out a creature you control whenever you want, usually on your opponent's turn because you have Vigilance, so he stays untapped when he attacks. He can act as both a Voltron, and he can act as a defender, and he can also have his ability. He's very flexible, interesting card, and I like him. Number 6, Rafiq of the Many, my old commander. He is a monster Voltron, one of the most powerful Voltron cards in 1v1 format, for sure. Even in multiplayer, can be terrifyingly strong. I always used him as a defensive commander. He would come into play and support my troops by giving some other crazy creature double strike. He works on his own. He works with huge creatures. He's flexible and is crazy powerful. He's one of the few commanders that if he lands on a 1v1 or a multiplayer table, people will be nervous. Then we have number 5, Imperial Archangel. This card is so expensive and awkwardly costed, but it is so strong. The fact that it has Shroud means that it's nearly impossible to remove it, and that it locks out all damage from you. Unless someone does 8 or more damage in a given turn to you, you can't die as long as this is out. Very strong wall, very stalwart, great reanimator target, but it is really expensive and awkward to use, which is why it's not higher up. Then we have number 4, Derevi Imperial Tactician, one of my favorite new commanders. She is fantastic. The fact that she gets around the commander cost of the additional 2 colorless by being able to just be put back into play. Of course, it's not being cast, so some of the flicker effects that Derevi works with, in my deck at least, aren't activated when you do that. But being able to untap stuff based on when it enters play, based on flickering, based on damage, tapping and untapping, gives you crazy control of the board. Very cheap to play, very flexible. It hits permanents, which is insane. You can tap down their crazy creatures, or crazy anything really, and untap your lands, untap anything. Derevi is incredibly flexible, really powerful, and guys, it's a bird wizard. Enough said. Number 3, Crystallization. This card may be lower on the list in terms of awesomeness, but it's very flexible. Very flexible. The fact that you can throw it on and lock out the strongest creature in the game, give it a pacifism, which may not seem like much, but suddenly the game becomes political, because if someone can target the creature, it's exiled. So you put this on an Eldrazi or Blightsteel Colossus or any enormous board-threatening creature, and suddenly you're everybody's friend. Guys, let's work together. Let's politicize. Let's work this out. I think as a card, it's flexible, interesting, and will affect multiplayer games in larger ways than you expect. Number 2, Wargate. This card is the bomb. It is so good that it grabs any permanent. Yes, it's not the greatest tutor ever, but if you remember, there are cards like Chords of Calling, which are $40 to $50 cards, and while this is less flexible because it has 3 different colors in its mana cost, it is powerful. Being able to search your deck, throw something into play, and anything into play is really great for an additional mana cost. An EDH commander, especially in these colors, is not hard to get the extra mana, and it's such a strong card. And number 1, we have Bant Charm. Pretty much the most flexible card on this list. 3 mana that can destroy an artifact, or tuck a commander down to the bottom of the library, or any creature for that matter, or counter an instant, which is a very effective counter spell, because most things that are most dangerous come in the form of instants. This card is flexible, hits lots of things. It can go into any deck with these colors. Great card. What else is there to say? So thanks for watching, everybody. I have 2 non-normal lists that I'm working on right now, the top 10 basic lands, as well as a top 10 non-power 9 broken cards. So stay tuned for those. Vote which one and or which shard you want to see next below in the comment section. Tap the like button. I recommend subscribing to the channel for more top 10 EDH commander lists coming to you really soon. Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.